So Feon finally got leaked, and yeah, things just got wild. Not just because of his kit, but also because the devs made a very interesting decision in 3.2. Yep, they left Casteres' resurrection passive untouched, and we need to talk about what that means long term. By the way, I'm giving away 5 supply passes in this video. Just leave a comment to join in. I'll randomly pick 5 winners in 1 week, and the next giveaway will be at 30,000. So, good luck everyone. If you want to save up to 23% on the current banners, visit lootbar.gg. Here, I can buy 3,280 Woneric shards for $40, while it costs $50 in-game. I just enter my UID and select a server. Since every top-up goes through the in-game channel, I received double the Oniric shards for my first purchase and saved $10. And this discount also applies to PlayStation 5 and Xbox. Besides Honkai, you can also top up in Genshin, and Lootbar has over 50,000 satisfied users. I regularly use Lootbar for my giveaways, so I can personally recommend it. Use my link in the description for an additional 8% discount. Before we dive into the details of Feon's kit, it's worth mentioning that new info about him comes from leaked Chinese characters, and it hasn't been widely discussed or backed by other sources yet. So just keep in mind that some aspects of his design might still be subject to change or could end up working differently by the time he's officially released. Well, at first glance, you'd think Feon is just another powerful 5-star unit. His path was originally destruction, but was recently changed to remembrance. He's built entirely around tracking how much damage your team deals, like all of it, except for true damage. And he stores it up under this mechanic called Flawless for a few turns. Then, depending on how much you've dealt, he triggers one of 2 different memory spirits, either the Eye of Cephalus or the Bulwark of Cephalus. If your team's recorded damage doesn't hit a certain percentage of the enemy's total HP, either the sum for all enemies if there are no elites, or a chunk of a single elite if there is one, he summons the Eye of Cephalus. This spirit immediately acts and deals damage equal to a percentage of all the stored damage shared among enemies. Think of it like a mini explosion of all the pain you've caused. But if your team does manage to surpass that threshold, that's when things get crazy. Feon summons the Bulwark of Cephalus instead and enters this state called Hope-Giving Liberator. In this mode, he immediately launches a follow-up attack that again deals a percent of the stored damage, but this time it seems much more single-target focused and powerful. Then, for a few turns, he stays in that state, likely buffing or continuing to dish out punishment. After it ends, his stored damage resets to 0, so you start the cycle again. The cool thing? He even prioritizes targets intelligently. If there are multiple elite enemies, he'll target the one with the lowest max HP, which is super helpful for certain simulated universe fights. But here's the thing, Feon doesn't just scale off ATK or critical DMG, he literally weaponizes your team's output, and that's where the balance issues start to creep in. Because if you think about the future of Honkai's Star Rail, this kind of mechanic is basically a power creep time bomb. Right now, Feon reflects what your team can already do, but what happens when future units start doing even more damage? If Feon's kit scales with your entire party's output, then any future DPS creep also directly buffs him. He becomes stronger without any buffs to his own stats. That's a scaling loop that, if left unchecked, could mess with balance in a big way. And speaking of things that might mess with long-term balance, let's talk about Casteres, because I don't think people realize just how insane it is that the devs decided to keep her resurrection passive global. In case you missed it, as of version 3.2, Casteres can revive allies, even if she's not in your team. Yeah, not just benched, not even in your lineup. If you have her on your account and someone dies in, say, Memory of Chaos or Simulated Universe, her passive can still trigger and delay death by 1 turn. That effect works in basically every content type. We're talking pure fiction, apocalyptic shadow, you name it. And here's where things get shady. The devs decided to keep this effect That's a huge deal, because it opens the door to a new kind of passive effect, a character who changes your account's behavior just by existing. It's not tied to team synergy or strategy anymore. It's tied to ownership. That's where this starts to feel less like creative design and more like future-proofing monetization. I mean, think about it. What happens when more characters start to get similar, account-wide passives? A unit that gives you more drops, or buffs your event rewards, or adds a one-time revive in Forgotten Hall. It's an incentive to own them, even if you never use them. But at the same time, it also reduces gameplay agency. Why even bother building a team around survival if Casteres bails you out from the bench? So yeah, between Feon scaling with party-wide damage and Casteres changing how death even works, we might be entering a new era of design in Honkai's Star Rail. And it raises a lot of questions. Are we okay with units being this impactful just by existing? Is Feon really the future of scaling mechanics? Or are these just clever ways to mask power creep under flashy mechanics? Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you excited for Feon? Does Casteres' passive feel fair to you? Or do you think this is the start of something bigger that we're not seeing yet? Either way, things are heating up fast, and we'll be watching closely. Save up to 23% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.